Hey, what's up, everybody? Välkommen tillbaka till Lagom Snacket, or welcome back to Lagom Snacket podcast, where Swedish silent meets unfiltered conversation and truth. This is your boy Lex, an American living in Sweden, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about something a little bit more spicy or controversial. It's kind of like the Swedish social unwritten code that of course, I've encountered and many others who probably just moved to Sweden. And I'm going to discuss it today here on this podcast. And these five things that I'm about to mention are things that I just came up off the top with that I felt like was like weird and I didn't know about it. But I broke all of them, all of the rules the unwritten rules. Sometimes by accident, and sometimes I had no idea it even existed. So, the first thing that I didn't know was when you show up unannounced to people's house. In the U.S., it's totally fine if you drop by someone's house with food or just to hang out without giving them a call or anything, unless that person tells you otherwise. Like, yo, this week I'm gonna be doing this and that with this person, or my wife, or my girl, or my significant other. Don't come by on this date, so we would know. Otherwise, it's completely fine in the U.S. But here in Sweden, if you show up to anybody's house unannounced, they gonna look at you crazy because it's kind of like walking into someone's therapy session unannounced while they're having a midlife crisis breakdown at that moment. You know, like I've never tried that as of yet, but I'm glad that I know this now because I've heard other stories of people just doing that. And Swedish people really get upset when stuff like that happen. So yeah, when it comes to stuff like that, if you don't want people to look at you like you done stole something from them, yeah, just make sure that if it's not on your calendar, don't even attempt to do it, and call the person in advance or text them. So moving on along to the next one, no small talk in public. I'm an American, and as you guys know, we talk to everybody: the bus drivers, the person in line, the old lady in the fruit aisles. Even if we're waiting on a bus, it could be anybody random. It's cool. It's completely fine. Sometimes when you have small conversations with people, you could be like friends with that person for a lifetime. And I've been able to meet really good people that I'm still friends with up until this day because of that. But man, I have tried that here in Sweden, man, and I got nothing but I got all types of silence. Like I got the weirdest look sometimes, or I got the standoffish, like, hey, it felt like I had them at gunpoint trying to have a conversation with me. But that's how I felt like they felt like I had them at gunpoint just to have a conversation with me. But that wasn't even the case. I was just trying to be friendly. But here in Sweden, that doesn't exist. And even though to me as an American, looking at it this way, it may look rude. Like, damn, like, what did I do? Do I stink? Do I have like a bad hygiene problem? Am I hurting you in some type of way? It's not rude. It's just like it's the vibe here in Sweden. People just like, you know, they're silence. They want to be to themselves all the time, especially during the winter. No one don't want to say nothing to you. But when that sun come out, when that summer come out, people be wilding like they are now. Now I've learned since a few experiences of me trying to be friendly with people and trying to make friends, I just nod at them when I see them, make eye contact for 3 seconds, nod, look the other way, and keep it moving. That's all I do. Now, the third thing that I've learned, and my friends taught me this, of course, is to never to talk about money. This one shocked me because in Sweden, like everyone's salary is public information that you could just easily Google and find out. If you type in their first and last name or whatever and the city, you can find that out online. You can actually pay for it. But don't you dare ask that like in a conversation. It's crazy, right? I know. But in the United States, it's a complete opposite. When you ask someone about their salary, they'll boldly tell you, like, oh, I make 90,000, just doing this and that and that. But I guess flexing is a thing in the States, and it feels good to let people know, like, this is how much I make. But I think most of the people are genuine in the States about it, and they only talk about stuff like that to show people, not to brag or to show off. I think, like, those are for the assholes. But for the real genuine people, they say that to make a statement like, look at where I came from. I had barely anything or nothing to where I'm at now. And it motivates the people who they're telling how much they make too, because that person now is going to be using that as a stepping stool, like, oh, I got to get my stuff together. I got to get my shit together. And they motivate each other off that. But in Sweden, man, like, yo, you don't ask that. I asked one of my friends, like, is it okay to ask people salary? I was like, yo, bro, in Sweden, you can't do that, man. It's just like, uh, you'll get that awkward silence. People just don't do that here in Sweden. I asked why. They was like, we don't know. It's just that's the way Swedish people are. I guess they like to keep stuff like that to themselves private. Um, what I mean? Swedes are very humble. Flexing is frowned upon and money talk. The only time when Swedish talk about money is when they're doing their tax records, but it's never going to be at the dinner table or out in public with friends or anything of that sort. Moving on to the next one. The fourth thing is like the one that I invaded the most is probably like giving people their personal space. All right. I'm a huge hugger and I come from a place where it's okay to hug strangers, give high fives, talk 2 inches face to face from a person. That's completely cool, you know? And if you guys didn't know, but before I came to Sweden, I lived in New York for 4 years, and there is no such thing called social distancing or anything like that until like COVID hit. But before that, I didn't know what space was because once the train came, everybody got themselves packed on there, or the bus was always packed. Just Manhattan in general, when you go to Manhattan or in New York, that street, everything is so busy, everybody's so close to each other. There's no such thing as space. Okay, so coming here to a city like Växjö just is the complete opposite for me, and it took me a while to get used to that. Even when I was on a bus, I didn't want to sit next to the person because, I wanted to invade their space. I wanted to sit next to the person because I was too tired to walk all the way to the back. You know, it's, I was tired. But like in Sweden, like if you do stuff like that, it's kind of like considered like an assault. And if they could, they would. If they had a law where, I think like it's like a imaginary restraining order for everybody. I know that's weird, but yeah, it's like a restraining order for everybody. Um, Personal space here in Sweden is sacred. Even if you go to the grocery store, it's like everybody's in a bubble or an imaginary box, like standing a far distance from them. And don't even think about sitting next to someone on a bus unless the seats are all taken up. That's the only time you sit next to people. Moving right along to the fifth one, don't start eating until everyone has their food. Okay? I don't know, but I think like this one is stupid because I'm like, if I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. The only time when we don't eat ahead of everybody or we wait for people is like we're at a dinner or a Thanksgiving family reunion. We get together, we give grace over the food, which is basically like praying over the food, giving thanks for getting the family together, and then we all eat together. But other than that, I don't think people do that unless you're at a family table and they're really like super like Christian or just home base where they pray before they eat their food. Yeah, but here in Sweden, if you do that, they're gonna look at you like everybody at the table gonna look at you like this guy ain't got no manners. It's been a couple of times I've wondered why people look at me. Is it the way that I'm eating, or just living in this country would have you going through a lot of personal identity, you know, order issues. Like it's hard for you to find a place here, especially from an outsider coming from an extrovert, loud, completely opposite country to the complete opposite, which is here in Sweden. You know, And I tell my friends, like, oh, I tell them about Sweden all the time. They're like, I'd love to. I was like, man, because Sweden sounds sweet, man. It's not what you think it is. It's a great country for what it is, but don't get it twisted, man. Yeah, there's some stuff that I still don't understand why people do. So yeah, I broke every rule at least once, you know, uh, or almost attempted to once. Uh, Not because I meant to, but because no one talks about them until it's too late. And I had to learn some of these the hard way. And that's why I started this podcast. One of the reasons why I started this podcast is to talk about the stuff that people keep silent, talk about the awkward stuff that people don't like to talk about, and of course, the Swedish stuff that, people don't mention or forget to mention, you know? And I think all of these are important because I feel like people who are moving into this country don't know. And then Swedish people always complain, like, oh, why they can't never integrate in the country? Because no one tells them about these things that I'm discussing right now. And I think, like, this is very important for them to feel culturally appropriated so that way, they would know, like, okay, this is something that Lex mentioned on his podcast. Anywho, uh, and yeah, if you ever learn the hard way like me, just leave a comment, send me a DM, or share a moment, or whatever. Make sure you guys follow me on Spotify, YouTube, and all my Instagrams because I make shorts or reels. Lex in Sweden all together. That's Lex with two X's. So yeah, see you next time. It'll be shortly because I'm gonna be dropping a video every day or two. Just to continue to create content. I love doing this. So until next time, I'll see you guys. Take care.